Finance Subcommittee meeting to order. Start out with purchase orders over $7,000. Does anybody have any questions?
I'm getting out my list, Tom. It's not a list, really.
Nobody? No takers?
No?
All right. Move on to invoices.
Um,
No?
I did, I'm just getting my head back into it.
Is this for the monthly budget? Is they're asking for their,
What's that?
for the monthly? Is that what you're asking?
No, I'm on the
The-
invoices.
Invoice $1,000,007.
Wait, that's not the big 51 pager,
Oh, okay.
I
is
don't know
it?
how many pages are in it.
Yeah, that's invoices, a 51 page, you
Yeah.
know. I just looked over some things, I just had a few questions.
All right.
So I just wanted to, I feel like I'm yelling into this. Wanted to ask about the LPNs and just make sure that, I know that we pay them, right? But, or maybe Erica, there you are, hi. I'm wondering if it's all about, like, doesn't the town, each town that East Shore comes into and, that they come in and, each town has to pay a portion of what East Shore does for the town, for their particular town, yes?
Yes,
What comes out of our budget? Does the town pay too?
nothing comes out of our budget relative to East Shore District Health Department. The LPNs you see on the invoices this evening are the additional LPNs we hired with our relief funds to work with our school nurses in our buildings to oversee the isolation spaces and help us contact trace and monitor attendance. Completely separate from East Shore District Health Department.
Okay,
But yes, we don't have to pay East Shore District Health Department. I believe that's built into the town side of the budget.
okay. Because I do have questions, but I don't know when he sees them again. Do they have questions? Oh, public session for that part, do you know?
I'm sorry?
Do they have a public session for that part, for East Shore? Because I'm just not sure they know,
Like a
understand
public hearing,
it.
I don't know.
I think he's coming back to the town tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night?
I believe so.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that, but I
I
think,
just think there's a lot of confusion with him, and I feel really bad that he was,
I think they're
somewhat.
asking him back for a separate presentation tomorrow, and then they're going to do their public hearing after his presentation.
after his presentation.
That's my belief.
Okay. Because I know there was some misinformation, and I think that some of the people on the town council thought it was our job too, as the school too. And there was just a lot of, I felt really bad for the guy, and he really, he was the messenger. But I just wanted to make sure what our responsibility was, so,
Yeah.
thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm just not sure I understand the blanket for the workers' comp. Is that something, did you ask about that, Tom? You always mention it, so I'm just curious.
Blanket for
Pardon?
workers' comp.
That's always the same, right?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
blanket's just set up in the beginning of the year. We know what we're going to pay the town for the whole year, and it's just evenly divided each month.
Thank you.
So every payment's just drawing down on that blanket PO.
Thank you. That's all I had.
All right, anyone else? All right. Who's doing the budget projection?
Go ahead.
The budget projection is showing a negative figure year-to-date because we still haven't received a lot of the grant funding will be receiving the next time, before the next time you get this. I'm anticipating that we're going to have approximately 200,000 in positive when all comes through, when the grants come through, and we will be bringing that to you at the next meeting.
All right. Cafeteria report?
Cafeteria report is same as we always see through March. The month of March, we had a profit of $120,544, bringing our fiscal year-to-date profit to $688,739.
What are we gonna do with all that money?
We have been spending it down. We bought freezers that we brought before the board, and we have bought hot boxes and much of the equipment that they desperately needed for the program. And we've been buying them small wares and things that haven't been replaced because we haven't had the funding available to do it. So we have a program in place where we're gonna try and spend down as much as we can to get to the point where we have to for the state statute.
So, but I'm assuming this isn't a one-off, you're gonna have the same thing next year.
Correct.
You can only buy so much kitchen equipment, what are we gonna do with that money?
We're gonna have to look to put it back into the program somehow, or contact the state and ask them for guidance. It's very,
The state gives us a minimum requirement of what we can have in the account at the end of the year,
maximum.
maximum cash value. So we'll spend down to that amount through
Right.
the capital per purchases, but to your point, next year, we're gonna have to come up with a plan because
It's gonna be huge.
the freezers aren't gonna need to be replaced every year,
Right.
so.
We do need to put in, new systems on the roof of this building because they're 25 years old and I'm worried they might possibly fail. We don't have redundancy right now, so that is a very large expense that we'll be looking to bring to the board.
New systems for what?
The freezer, compressor units on the roof, it has 4 refrigeration freezer units up there, and I would like some redundancy so that if one of them goes down, we can all move things into the other, just to make sure we don't lose the inventory.
All right. Any questions on the cafeteria report, or move on to budget transfers?
The transfers that we're requesting to do are taking funds from unfulfilled and or unpaid absence positions to cover outsourced positions in special ed, reallocate funds that are in access lines to deficit lines, update textbooks needed for world language, 8th grade student textbooks and licensing, and we've transferred from certain lines to fill in for our playground. Does anyone have any questions on any of these transfers?
If I can add to the outsourced positions that we're funding, we're not choosing to outsource, we just can't fill after actively soliciting those jobs. So it's not like we're purposely outsourcing those jobs. We've actively tried to fill them in-house, we just can't. So that's why we're transferring the salary line from where we would have paid an in-house person to an outsourced person to fill the role. That's all.
All right. All right, E-rate board resolution.
Yes, I'd like to invite Randall up to talk about the E-rate.
Good evening, everyone. I'm pleased to say that we have nearly completed our E-rate filing for the 2021-2022 school year. We do this every year, and we've done it successfully for the past 22 years. The last thing that has to happen is the board has to pass a resolution allowing us to move forward with the purchase on July 1st of this year. So to summarize, we have 3 projects that will be E-rate funded. One is the internet that we purchased from the CEN as a project budget of $26,600. E-rate discounts at 90%, so our share will be $2,760. There is the fiber that connects each of our buildings. Total budget $132,854. Again, that's discounted 90%. So our share of that is $13,265.44, and E-rate picks up the rest. And the third piece is an E-rate opportunity for Category 2 connections that happens once every 6 years. So we intend to replace every wireless access point in the district, and that provides wireless access to the internet for our students and staff. There are about 360 wireless access points. That project has a $479,349 budget. We'll be reimbursed 85%, so our share of that will be $71,902.35. And I believe in your packet you have the wording for the board resolution itself. The E-rate is quite specific in what they like to hear from the board. It basically says we will pay it. Any questions regarding that?
Why do you replace the wireless access points?
Why?
Is there better technology now?
There is. Wireless technology changes every year. We went from a standard that was introduced in the 2000s, 802.11, is they did A, B, C, D, G, E. There's an X, and each time they do it, it gets faster, and each wireless access point, and I'm trying to find one, is capable of supporting more clients. So the new access points are roughly 50 times faster. They're more robust in terms of interference with things like radio frequencies and microwave ovens and things like that. And they're also better at supporting more and more clients in a dense cluster. The last ones we hung 6 years ago. The good news is the brackets are exactly the same. So we don't have to touch the brackets. We can just swap out the devices. And we've ordered a handful of them and put them up in select locations just to make sure they seamlessly integrate into what we're doing. Yep.
What do we do with the previous money?
I will explore recycling. Very often, some of our hardware we are able to recycle and gain a little bit of money and credit. Usually it is pennies on the dollar. Wireless networking technology that's 6 years old isn't gonna garner a whole lot of revenue for us. So at the conclusion of the summer, I'll probably come to you with a proposal to either dispose of or try and recycle for a little bit of monetary gain.
Randall, I think there's one right above your head.
I was going to ask that.
Thank you, yes.
I thought it was.
Yep.
An old one. Soon to be old.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, Power School fees.
Okay, Randall may want to come back for this. So the process behind this, do you guys hear me all right?
Yeah.
Yeah? All right, I feel like I'm far away. So in coming here and talking primarily so far with Mr. DiNuzzo at the high school, we have a challenge of handling cash up at the high school. There's a lot of cash transactions that take place. This specifically came up with prom. Past practice was they'd collect around $35,000 in cash. It'd be walked to the finance office where it would be counted, and somebody would drive it themselves to the bank, which I think is wrong in many different levels for us on a control standpoint, and we shouldn't be handling that much cash. Not saying we're doing anything wrong, but it's just a risk that I don't think we should be taking. So we explored some add-ons to some programs that we have with Randall's help. Power School is used, and all our students are on Power School. Parents are on the portal for grades and tracking their students. So there's an add-on that we can use. I think it's called Fees, Randall, right? So what can happen in Fees is we can go on and add a prom bid, and it gives the parents, the students, grandparents access to pay prom bids, student fees with a credit card, online debit. It also allows us the opportunity to have an iPad in-house, so a student can come up and pay here. I'd like to, as we get this implemented, move forward to use it for athletic events where they can pay with a card instead of cash. Our drama clubs can sell their tickets online for all their performances. The back end, the controls are great. We can assign general ledger accounts to it, so when money is received. Yeah, go ahead, Michelle.
Is it gonna be like a PayPal or Venmo
The app will give you options for payment, yeah. I don't think Venmo is an option, though. But a
PayPal?
credit card, I believe so, yes. The cost to the board, I think Randall has the exact dollar figures, we were going over that. But once the initial setup fee is done, all the costs are just added to percentages to the charges done on the parent side. So once the initial setup and equipment is purchased by the board, there's no monthly maintenance fee that we have to pay. All the work for collecting the cash is on their end. We can run our reports weekly to do a reconciliation, and we can map all the accounts for athletics, can go specifically to the athletic line item. You know, prom can go to the high school activity fund, and it's just more secure, provides more controls for us financially, and we can go over those questions if you have any, and Randall's going to talk about the IT side of it and how it'll play into whatever we have now.
Sure, thank you, Richard. And there are three parts. Power School is at the heart of it, and Power School is our student information management system. We use it every day, everyone knows how it works. And Power School has a really rudimentary feature to assess fees for students, and it's useful for things like library fees and lost books. It isn't great. We add to that Marcia Brenner Associates, who make software plugins to enhance the functionality of Power School. And we use MBA plugins for a number of things right now, for report cards, for transcripts, for icons, for identifying remote learners. And they have well-supported products that greatly enhance Power School functions. So MBA Fees is a plugin that goes into Power School that greatly expands the functionality of the Power School fee structure. So we can itemize fees. We can retain transaction history over multiple years. We can provide really, really in-depth reporting of transaction history. We can generate customizable student fee statements. And really importantly, we have a two-way integration with select online payment providers. So we knew we wanted to keep Power School. We knew we wanted to add this functionality of the Marcia Brenner fees. We interviewed a couple of online fee payment providers and would like to move forward with a company called Magic Writer, who makes a product called eFunds for Schools. And that's a product that allows parents to use credit card or electronic fund transfer to pay for fees associated in Power School. And eFunds, importantly, writes those transactions back to Power School. So for instance, if a student in an AP course is assigned the AP test, that can be done in Power School very easily. You select all the kids that are taking AP courses, you assign the fee, it is attached to that child. Parents then create an account in eFunds, they process the payment, and a record of that transaction is available in both eFunds and written back to Power School. So the current student balance is reflected in both places. eFunds will provide us point-of-sale machines. They will provide us credit card readers to swipe for iPads. What does eFunds get out of this? Well, they charge a 3.2% fee on every transaction plus 20 cents per transaction. So that's their mechanism for generating revenue out of this. They're going to waive a fee for initial setup, integration, and a point-of-sale terminal. So we get that to start out with. We're going to start with a few selected items and grow the program as it becomes practical. And as Richard mentioned, we can move the school store to this, athletic events, performances, fundraising, etc. So the cost, the Marcia Brenner plugin, the initial cost would be $4,250 and a $1,200 per year recurring cost for software maintenance. The eFunds for School, really our only out-of-pocket expense would be $255 for 3 iPad credit card swipes. That would be, I think, what would allow us to get things off the ground initially. And then obviously they would take their cut on a per transaction fee, and we would determine whether we would pass that directly on to the parents. So I would recommend we move forward with a solution that includes the MBA Fees plugin as well as the eFunds for School to process the credit card and the EFT transactions.
I think it's great. I mean, as a parent, I've had to, cancel out lost checks that I've sent with my kids just to, pay for various things, and I think it's really convenient. I really like it.
I'd also like to add too, it's not just going to be at the high school level. This could go to the elementary level for like a field trip, preventing, you can just imagine the teacher keeping the money in her desk, bringing it to the principal. Everybody can go online and make the payment And we get the money sooner than later too, so we're not holding on and waiting for that as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's very, I remember, would this help with like activity fees, things that, or class dues, everything, right? Because, you know, as a
Everything can
collector
get added here, correct?
of things in 8th grade, let me
It
tell
even,
you,
it
that's
even
horrible.
adds a feature, if, step into Randall, I think many are on Facebook now, they have that GoFundMe option for a fundraising for the class of, 21. They have a fundraising link here where instead of a GoFundMe, the eFunds link goes and the student can post that, and any money that's given goes right through this eFunds platform. And it's not charged to a specific student, but the money goes to that class that we just set up on our end where that money goes. So we'll give it a link, any money that comes in goes to the class of 2021 account, and the GoFundMe, charge the 10%, so whatever they're doing there, we're actually gonna get them a little bit more for what they're doing, all on the same platform.
That's
So
awesome.
it could be used for a variety of reasons once it's pushed
And
out in
that
total.
link could be a traditional link, that link could be a QR code. I mean, you could have a poster with a QR code, and if you want to contribute to this particular thing, you hold your phone up, takes you to the page, and you're able to make a contribution.
That's awesome.
Do we do any credit card processing now?
We do for the
Preschool
stop
tuition.
preschool program.
Preschool,
thank
yeah.
you.
Through My School Bucks, though. We don't actually take people's credit cards.
You don't?
No.
All right,
They do
so
it through the
that-
portal.
That's one thing I was gonna say, when you actually start processing credit cards, you gotta have defense mechanisms for fraud.
I'm sorry, can't hear you because of the noise.
There's a lot of fraud in credit cards. And if you don't have, things in place, it can get out of control before you can find it.
What kind of things?
Oh, just, swiping the same card more than once without the cardholder's permission.
No, I mean, what kind of things do you need in place?
Oh, you gotta have a batch out process and a way to reconcile.
Mhm.
So you gotta spend some time on
Yeah.
that.
And we did have conversations with each of the vendors about fraud. And to
Yeah.
your point, the obligation of the fraud is really upon us as the people who are accepting the credit card transaction. I guess kind of the positive news is, in processing school store payments and AP payments, those really aren't high-ticket items. I would hope that when you steal a credit card, you're not driven to buy a sweatshirt.
It may not be that. It may be the person doing your processing, $35 for me today. And just once in a while. And it's terrible.
They would have to have an account set up for that money to go into for them to access it.
Maybe.
Well,
Well, how's they gonna get it? It's in.
Depends what else is going on
electronic.
in that process, but I'm just giving you a heads up. What you said is true. It all goes to the merchant.
yeah. And we did have a conversation about fraud specifically with each of the merchants. They each have a fraud prevention department. They have it wasn't news to them, and they were happy to engage in the conversation. I think to your point, it will be a learning curve for us
Yeah,
if we
I'm just
haven't done it
saying
in
that
the
you
past.
gotta have, if you don't, you're in trouble. Like, somebody could run 2 prom bids on a card and sell one for cash. I don't know. These people get creative. They start thinking of stuff you can't even imagine.
They'll be linked to names, won't they?
Yes.
Yeah, so if it's an in-house prom bid, like the way it would go, if they're in-house, say I walk up and say I want to buy a prom bid, somebody would go onto Power School, go onto that student's name, say, add the prom bid to their account, so there'd be an open bill, then they'd swipe the card, and then it would mark as paid.
So someone can't take a stolen credit card and buy the entire class a prom ticket?
Not in person, no.
Okay.
To log into Power School to make a payment, you would have to log in using your credentials,
Uh-huh.
and your credentials would be linked to a student.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about where you swipe. That's the thing you gotta watch.
Doesn't the provider provide some sort of, encryption for it though? So it's gonna be, 120-bit encryption? So that they
Yes,
can-
yeah, there are encryption options for the point of sale as well as the swipe piece as well.
And I would assume, they're taking some kind of liability with that too, because they're providing the service for you.
They are, but ultimately, we are the merchant, so I think the onus lies on us.
But aren't there errors made with checks being lost, with people, you know? I think if you include all of those errors that can happen too, people take checks and try to cash them, and, you know, there's, handling of money is not a good thing anymore, so.
Right.
Right?
You're right.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to think this
Yeah.
brings a real level of checks and balances and accountability,
I
and
think
it
so.
almost celebrates the transaction. You know, when it happens, you get it in Power School, you get an email, you get an alert, it happens on the eFunds platform. There is nothing hidden about it.
Right,
I think there's
that
gonna be an
ultimately
inherent
is-
risk in any which way we go. There's always
Right.
gonna be some risk involved. Mitigating that risk, I think, going this way
it's
is
far
better than
much
handling
easier, yes.
35,000 in cash for one event. Like, that's absurd to me.
As a person who, I do have to do that. I collect, there are times in the past, I'll say, okay, because I have had to turn in a lot of money, and I'm like, I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Because it's just, it's so easy to misread, log it in incorrectly, right? I mean, it's just, we're not set up like that. And I think,
A lot of school districts across the state are using the add-on with their school information system. I live in a district that uses Infinite Campus,
yes,
and there's an add-on system. I log into my children's account, it says fees. Depending on what grade they're in, there's things you can purchase. AP exam, for example, field trips. You lose a book, the fee shows up in the fee section. You gotta replace the book. It's clean, it's easy, I can tie it to whatever funding source I want, PayPal or a credit card or whatever. But I always know where to go when I have to pay for something for my children, as opposed to, like you said, Michelle, sending them with an envelope with a check that gets crushed in the back of the book bag and then lost, and we can't find it, and I gotta go cancel the check. So, I think it's gonna be.
you find it in the summer after.
Yeah, and I know RJ said there's always risk, but I think there's less risk here, and it creates a nice, organized, systematic way for collecting fees regardless of grade level, regardless of school.
Are there merchant service fees? So like, I haven't done this in a while, it was a couple years ago, Tom, you might know. So when, I used to own a restaurant, and when, we used to have to pay a fee for every credit card transaction
Yeah.
as the merchant.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the fee is 3.2% plus 20 cents per transaction.
Yeah.
And we have not yet had the discussion about how if we're gonna do the whole thing, or split it with the parent, or the parent is gonna do it. And that could vary from item to item.
Sure.
So that fee's built into what they charge us, that fee is built in. And those three options are either we absorb that full cost, the parent absorbs that full cost, or we can split it 50-50. But to Randall's point, for a $100 transaction, the fee would be almost less than $4 to use your card. So it's not absorbent for the parents to absorb this, for that feature. And
We could decide, like, say, for the AP exam, we absorb it, but for the prom, they do, or do you have to pick one or the other?
we haven't discussed that yet, right, Randall?
I think it is per item.
It is per
Yeah.
item? So yeah, we could do that.
That's good. I think it sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Randall.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Randall.
Randall.
All right, next we got bid results for large format displays.
So the large format displays, if you guys remember, I want to say about a month ago, we brought a larger purchase to you guys from Soundstage. Randall had outfitted the high school for TVs and mounts. In doing that process, we then realized that Memaugwin did not have TVs. They were the only school that, after that purchase, would not have any TVs, so we thought it was right to go ahead and move forward to get the TVs from Memaugwin. So we went out to bid again. There was only one purchase, one vendor that came back, Soundstage, which we used for the first purchase. So we are recommending tonight that we purchase the TVs and the brackets for $19,256 through Soundstage.
How many TVs will that be?
22. 22 65-inch 4K LED smart TVs with WebOS, and 21 AV brackets to mount those. And we also just received our order today, right, Randall? Of our first large purchase, they delivered them today.
And that's gonna be funded
Grant.
through,
This is grant funded through Alliance. We're just bringing it to your attention for the dollar value.
Thank you.
There's a team of tech services individuals who are working after their regular scheduled hours to install these TVs district-wide so that we're not disrupting instruction during the day.
That's great.
All right, asset disposal.
So we recently upgraded our AV system in our gym at the high school. So you're seeing the sound system and speakers that are old and obsolete. We're looking to dispose of those assets. And there's also been ovens from Ferrara School that we had replaced with gas. So now we need to dispose of those ovens as well.
Anybody got any questions? All right, bid results, Ferrara freezer.
So this is, like we discussed before, Ferrara's freezer saw better days. They recommended getting a new freezer. Went out to bid. Only one vendor came back. $18,170 for the freezer. We have used this vendor before. They are comfortable with the product. And again, this is coming out of the food service fund. So it's our recommendation to move forward with this.
All right, has anybody got anything else? If not, motion to adjourn.
okay, I'd like to call to order this evening's meeting for Tuesday, April 27th, and we will begin with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you for everyone. Melissa, can you do a roll call vote, please? I'm sorry, attendance. I'm reading, yeah.
I vote here. I went to press the button. Unmute myself. Here.
Jack Stacy,
Here.
Tom Murtaugh. Here. Lisa Gerisi Anastasio. Jennifer DeLongo,
Here.
Tom Hennessy. Here. Mary Ann Pellegrino,
Here?
Erica Santiago,
Here.
and Michelle Belushi.
Here. All right, thank you. Chairman of the Board report. This evening, I don't have much. I believe it's probably in the superintendent's report as well that our students are being vaccinated on Friday. And is there still time to sign up for that, Erica?
Yes,
Yes,
Mr.
there-
DiNozzo's starting to schedule appointments tomorrow, so between now and tomorrow, if they can let us know, we're happy to schedule an appointment.
Perfect. All right, so the only thing that I'm going to go over is I know everyone's really excited to be back in person, but let's remember when you want to speak to please ask for the floor, as well as do not interrupt anyone else on the board when they're speaking. There shouldn't be back and forth conversation. So if we could hold on to those little reminders, I think things will go really smoothly this evening. And-
Michelle, I looked around the room for a mute button. Yeah, I just didn't find one.
Yeah, I know. So everyone's gonna have to be on their, own accord to follow the
Back to normal.
procedures. Otherwise, we're gonna pause the meeting.
I was looking for a host, couldn't find that either.
All right. Okay, so I'm gonna move on. Correspondence has been loaded to the board drive. And that brings me to subcommittee reports. Let's see. Jack?
Sure, athletics. So Mr. Verderam's here, and he can comment on this as well. There was a walkthrough today regarding the fences around the fields. They were pleased and signed off on. So what's good about that means that finally our baseball and softball teams will be playing home games on our fields. The only other thing to note is that the girls' softball dugouts will be renovated very shortly.
Thank you. Personnel?
We did have a subcommittee last week. We did have a subcommittee last week. Can you hear me? Okay. And some of the things that we discussed are on negotiations going through. We'll be voting on some things tonight for that with, and hires and rehires. Things are ongoing for, right? I didn't miss anything.
No, you got it. Thank you.
Okay.
Erica, policy, community outreach?
Nothing for community outreach and policy. We do have a few things on for this evening.
Okay. Tommy, did you want to?
No,
No, you're good. Okay, great. I believe I got everyone. And so now we come to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Michelle. First of all, it's so great to be here back in person, and it's really wonderful to see everybody. I'm excited to host our meetings in person moving forward. I wanted to let you know that we are planning for an in-person graduation at the high school, and we're working on the final details surrounding that, and Mr. DeNuzza will be communicating out the parameters of that. But is our desire and our intent to host graduation on our new turf field with our students and our families and the Board of Education, our community members and our constituents in June. So be on the lookout for additional details there. And then just one other quick thing. Late this afternoon, I received some interim guidance for remote learning from the Connecticut State Department of Education for school year 2021-22, so next school year. And the Connecticut State Department of Education is emphasizing that access to in-person learning opportunities is a priority, not only for educational access, but the importance of social and emotional support provided to our students in the school building and setting. They put out some interim guidance for remote learning for next school year, and it confirms that they are not anticipating mandating the need due to public health necessity for continued voluntary remote learning options for next year. So they're going to put out some additional guidance. We'll read through that guidance and we'll bring back recommendations to the board relative to our learning model next school year. And that's all I have this evening.
Okay, thank you. Assistant Superintendent Murray?
Can everybody hear me? Okay. Hi, everybody. So today, I'm just going to provide a brief recap. We held a Curriculum Advisory Council meeting today. So if you're a visual learner or want to meet some of our curriculum team leaders who were in attendance, please view the recording. It should be live on our Curriculum Advisory Council page on the Teaching and Learning website at some point, hopefully in the next couple of days. But I'll just provide a brief recap for the board, and please follow up with any questions if you have them. We were able to introduce a number of our curriculum team leaders. These were newly established positions, and they started this year. They are full-time they hold full-time teaching duties. They're teachers on a teacher contract with an additional small stipend to support their facilitation of meetings. And their work has been instrumental in supporting curriculum revision and development of really clear and aligned assessment frameworks that make it clear the connection between the written curriculum, the day-to-day lesson planning that's taught in the classroom, and our cycles of really connecting together to get to meet and think about what's been learned by the students so that we can make adjustments, identify patterns, and support students as they move through their instructional program. And so there's three core initiatives that those individuals have put in place this year. One is the written curriculum. So we have 3-year phases at East Haven of curriculum revision, and it ensures that the departments are systematically reviewing the written, learned, and taught curriculum. They use culturally responsive rubrics and resources, and they outline as a team the evidence-based practices for use in the classroom to ensure all students have engaging material. I'm also excited to reintroduce our public site. I believe at a board meeting last year, I sort of provided an overview. But again, all of the hard work that our teachers have gone through this year enabled our public site to be something that I just like to reintroduce to you It makes available course descriptions, unit pacing, and the calendar, essential questions and big ideas that students are learning about, and the standards that are aligned to the instruction for courses and units. They can also have components that communicate partnership opportunities and ideas for parents to help their kids learn at home. This will be linked in the assistant superintendent's report when the board materials are archived on the website after the minutes are completed. But the public site web address, and it's also on our teaching and learning webpage, is east-haven-k12-public.rubiconatlas.org. And it is password protected because our teachers have worked very hard to compile, and some of our curricular resources are proprietary, but it is Yellow Jackets with a capital Y, one word. So we invite families to take a peek and let us know what you think. Again, we are in different phases of revision cycles, so if you find that you'd like more information in a particular course or site, please reach out to myself or the relevant curriculum team leader. And we do work to ensure that the taught curriculum is in place. Our series of video intervisits this year have allowed our regular practice of visiting classrooms as an administrative team to support ongoing teaching and learning. We've even invited teachers to participate in that process. This year we did video intervisits in light of COVID, and we were able to really have lots of great conversations about ensuring consistency across the district. We want to make sure our allocated instructional time supports the implementation of the curriculum as it's written, and that COVID-specific time constraints such as mass breaks are considered when we prioritize content and accelerate learning through purposeful and efficient assessment. And our administrators have received training on evaluation, again, using the Danielson frameworks, so teachers can get timely and effective feedback on best practices. Our teams have worked really hard to align their assessment framework to identify those patterns of student achievement, address student needs, and suggest any revisions where we notice, patterns that identify an area of focus to shore up our curriculum. So that's part of our conversation about curriculum and the public site. And then the second thing we reported on at Curriculum Advisory Council this evening was the 2021 Parent Report Card focus groups and our initiative to revise the elementary report card. So over the course of 4 weeks, I facilitated a series of 4 parent report card focus groups. And thank you if you were one of those parents who attended. I know how busy it can be. 3 were held in English and 1 in Spanish. These focus groups allowed us to get feedback from families on what they were looking for to improve the elementary report card. I used 10 questions that are aligned with an active implementation framework that really talk about how do we get a clear description, really define those essential functions that our families and stakeholders are looking for, have a shared definition so we're all using the same language when we're talking at the table. What does it mean? What do you mean by assessment? What's a summative? Just so families can really understand that language that we're using, and we can use their language so that it shouldn't feel like Greek. And then we wanted to make sure that we had a way to assess the performance of this initiative and how we're doing in the next year as we move towards active implementation. So families, sort of to summarize, and there's a 2-page report that I can put in the documents, but to briefly summarize, families really would value a shorter and sweeter report card that makes them understandable for everyone. They wanted us to operationalize the performance levels and have an equivalent in letters of a visual so color coding was what the team sort of has considered, and there were some screenshots shared in our Curriculum Advisory Council about what that might look like. They wanted to really clarify the connection between the classifications. If a student is rated an exemplary versus a developing, what are the differences? How do we quantify that? And again, visuals and colors. We provided some examples of some frames and stems, and parents seem to prefer verbs versus I can statements, and so we provided them with some options. So the team took that information and really kind of came up with non-negotiables for departmental revision, and then the departments sort of worked really tirelessly to compact large amounts of standards into some really aligned standards that connect nicely to our vision of the graduate. So we can speak more about that another time, or I'm happy to take your questions. It was an hour-long meeting, and several focus groups and several meetings, so I could barely scratch the surface here, but really the hope is that it's going to connect the dots for families to understand, the thing that came across loud and clear is I want to know what I can do to support my child's learning at home. Our parents are dedicated to their kids and want to partner with our teachers, and our teachers are dedicated to teaching and doing the right thing for their kids. So it was a really nice way to get that two-way communication going. So our district initiatives that will continue to support this revision is those department revisions of standards aligning to the vision of the graduate work and performance rubrics for content areas, as well as an implementation of a performance matters add-on to PowerSchool that will enhance access to data and make it really simple for teachers to enter scoring. So everybody will have access to the same students' information without shared Google spreadsheets in multiple places. And so it's kind of a one-stop shop to find out the profile of your class and your students and how they're performing on each tag to the standard, so we can actually look at how a kid is doing on speaking and listening. We'll have a color picture visuals of how that goes. So those things are going to really, hopefully, in the next year, continue to support teachers as we roll it out slowly but surely, so that we really have meaningful. And it's been so meaningful to have parent input so that they can see under the hood a little bit of what we do. So thank you to those families that attended either focus groups or curriculum advisory council. Your insight is very much valued, and I appreciate being able to collaborate with you. And I will take any questions at this time.
Maybe when the final revisions are made, present that to the board on what it's going to look like visually, as well as put a description.
It will likely be, we're hoping for the June 22nd as a target date, so I will keep you posted. Thank you.
If I could, may I say
Yes.
something? Yeah. I don't have a particular question, but I have to say I did attend. This is, I think, the key to really putting everybody together to look at what can be done, what we're doing, and how things are being measured in a much more succinct way. I think it's going to be really fabulous, and it really, truly, I can't tell you how many parents will say, what can I do? I want to help, because they're not in school. Math is different taught than, so this will really, that's what really caught my eye today. I, as a parent, what can I do as a parent? And I think when this gets finished, this finished product, which will always be ongoing as you're adjusting curriculum, but it will really help everyone, the students most of all, obviously, but it was wonderful.
And if I could just extrapolate a little bit, I think, Tia, what you're referring to is the component in the public site in Atlas,
Yes,
where
yes.
under the unit overviews and course
Yes.
descriptions, we've tried to encourage all of our departments to incorporate language of how they can support their child at home. Again, it's more prevalent at the elementary level at this time, but even our career and technical education courses. For example, Lee Martin, our career and technical education curriculum leader, has a first aid course. And so one of her final performance tasks is for them to really put together or come up with an item list of what you would have in a safety kit at home for first aid. And she can encourage families to help your child procure the items for that so that you can actually maintain that level of safety in your home. So it's translating all across the board, K to 12, and those hopefully will be helpful to families to kind of see what's going on. What am I supposed to be learning in this class, and what's missing? And I've had some really great conversations with families about that and what they're looking for. So thank you for the insight, and thank you to Julie Church, Claudia Cox, who attended. Julie attended, I think, all of our report card focus groups, and just to kind of hear and listen, and principals really were instrumental in communicating frequently, so we had a good attendance to really get people's insight. It's really helpful.
I like that component as well, rather than having to wait to the conference to ask the teacher exactly what can I do to work on this. I think that's a really great component.
Thank you. Jack?
Yeah, Jen, are you familiar with what we called in New Haven student-led conferences where, okay, so we can talk about that another time.
Sure, yeah, and I think our assessment framework and goal-setting initiatives
Yeah.
that we're putting in our current curriculum revisions will blend really nicely to building capacity of teachers, over the next.
It was just exciting to see when a student, you handed them their report card with their parents sitting there, and then they had to explain their entire, well, I gotta be here because Mrs. So-and-so doesn't like me,
Right.
But you know what I mean. So
Yeah.
we could talk a little bit more later. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'd love that conversation.
Mrs. B might be at that table too, so.
Anyone else have any questions for Jen? No? All right, then, do we need to hear from the athletic director this evening? Any update?
Anthony, you can give a brief update if you have one.
I'll go very quickly. Yeah, as Mr. Stacy reiterated, the dugouts are being repaired. The boys were done first because there was a lift to their roofs. Their entire roof and all the substructure had to be ripped out and repaired. They look so nice, and the girls are looking a little older. We're gonna replace the roof, the facade, paint them, so everything's matching. JMMS, the middle school, the girls softball team, as Mr. Stacy said, won their first game. This was the first win of the year for our middle school programs. This was the first time our middle school athletes had the chance to compete this year. So it's a great day for our athletes, our middle school and our younger student athletes, and just want to acknowledge them. And Gianna Santoro had 15 strikeouts in the win again. So
Wow.
congratulations to Gianna. The boys lost tough one, 4-1. And next week, we're looking forward to having baseball and softball back up on the hill. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony.
Okay, so moving on to approval.
Michelle, just briefly before moving on, sorry. I just wanted to touch back quickly on the correspondence portion. I just wanted to kind of make it stated, I know a couple correspondence came through, but I just want on the record that the parent knows that they were read and that they're going to be followed up on, because those were a couple concerning emails that were sent to the board.
Can we also remind parents that in order for it to be submitted as correspondence in the subject line, that they should be putting public correspondence?
Yep.
Thank you.
I wanted to check with everybody for approval of meeting minutes and consent agenda. Is everyone comfortable with doing an overall vote, or do you want to still do the one by one as we will for motion items?
Overall, is good.
Okay. All right, so an all in favor. So approval of meeting minutes for the special meeting on April 9th, 2021. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for the special meeting on April 9th, 2021.
I'll second that. Jack?
Any questions, comments? All right, so I'm going to ask, Melissa, do you want to do
I thought we weren't doing,
all in favor?
oh, you say.
Oh, should I could just do it, yeah. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I got spoiled, Melissa.
We're all
Sorry.
we're all on Zoom meetings.
All right. So next comes to approval of a consent agenda. So we have approval of invoices for fiscal year 2020, 2021 in the amount of $1,718,376.33, and the approval of purchase orders over $7,000, as discussed in finance, and of course reviewed on your drive. Do I have a motion?
Erica, Cynthia, well, we're not on Zoom, so I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I will second it.
Any questions, comments? If not, I'm going to ask all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Tom, did you say anything different? Oh, all right.
He said aye.
So all in favor, motion carries. That brings us to our audience of citizens portion for this evening. Is there anyone here this evening to speak?
Podium.
Come on up to the podium and just sign in, and then before you speak, just list your name and address, please.
They have to see their address out loud.
Jennifer Carforo. 8 Jeffrey Road.
evening, Board of Education members and Superintendent Forty. Thanks to each of you for the dedication, steadfast commitment to providing an outlet for parents to participate in expressing ideas, thoughts, and concerns. The numerous means of communication and outreach from the district through this tumultuous year has been consistent and appreciated. As we approach the end of the school year and enter in the summer months, it is important to reflect on the struggles we have been faced with and recognize all the different circumstances and experiences of each family. But most importantly, it's time to look forward towards our children's near and distant future and how we as parents ensure a positive and flourishing tone. We have all taken responsibility to protect others, protect ourselves. Therefore, in light of the vaccine availability that's been rolled out throughout our state and offered to every individual in our town and each of our great educators and administrators, I ask the board to make great efforts to embrace a more traditional K-2 environment and to think about our very young children and the quality of their early years. What our daughter is exposed to at this tender age is critical. I have noted below some items to address in order to unlock the current stifling of our K-2 schools and allow air and space for our kids to reach their full and robust potential. Please consider the following effective immediately. As a parent of a kindergarten, it is most important to provide a consistent routine and uninterrupted schooling. Reevaluate quarantine guidelines and eliminate quarantining healthy children. Forcing healthy children into a draining and isolated distance learning model is disruptive, it's confusing, and it's detrimental and counterproductive to a 5-year-old's development. Number 2, stop blanket mask requirements, particularly outdoors. This goes along with utilizing our school grounds to conduct lesson plans and multiple other activities. This unhealthy practice has no benefit to our children or to those around them. In fact, I strongly feel and suspect prolonged masking has been to the detriment of our daughter's pronunciation and speech development. Further, expressions and smiles have been void to our young students who require them the most as part of their growth. Unless the Board of Ed can justify and provide parents concrete information and evidence as to why this practice remains in place, remove the mask requirement. Number 3, open the school doors to parents. Let parents into the schools and allow school-based events. This will benefit the students and unite the parents. Untie the hands of our principals, untie the hands of our teachers, administrators, our PTOs, and the entire K-12 student body. Allow students to enjoy their cafeterias, their music rooms, extracurricular activities, etc. And allow our educators to do what they do best, teach, nurture, encourage, mentor, engage, establish trusting relationships with their students. Number 4, encourage group learning and group environments. Cultivate the classrooms. Take down the plexiglass and bring our students together. This can be accomplished while recognizing a 3-foot distance if maintaining distancing protocols are considered necessary.
I'm sorry, Ms. We're almost at.
I'm almost done, thank you. Number 5, attendance. Can the Board of Ed please address the alarming 800+ students that may or may not be participating in distance learning? What measures are being taken by the district to ensure families feel comfortable to reinstate to in-person? It is ingenuous to write remote learning off as a satisfied option and solution. Until all students are physically in school, it is doing all learners, no matter the chosen learning model, no matter the grade, a great disservice. My comments and concerns are from my observations and my experiences over the past year and how I have seen firsthand their negative impacts. There is a clear decay in the environment that our schools have morphed into due to multiple reasons. It's time for the Board of Ed, our schools, and our family communities to come together to develop exit strategy to these COVID guidelines. Keeping in mind their guidelines, it is up to us to decide how we move the students forward, the most valuable of our assets for the common goal of quality of life and quality of a prosperous and enrichment education and environment. Let's get back to the basics of learning, do the work to set up, enhance, and solidify our children's future academic success and potential. Thank you for your time and action.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak this evening? No, I'm just gonna ask Superintendent if you could clarify, are these guidelines or are we required to follow them?
So these are requirements per the state with the masks and the quarantine timelines, although they did make it from 14 days to 10. I stated earlier in my report that the state is, I believe, for the 21-22 school year, looking at not mandating remote learning as an option. And so provided that that guidance and those requirements and directives from the state are consistent and remain that way, then we'll be full in person with no remote option next year. Obviously, if the state says that we have to have a voluntary opt-out remote option, then we're required to provide that. But we do have to adhere to the guidelines relative to masks, some of which are requirements, and then some of which will be recommendations. Anything that's a requirement, we are mandated to follow. I thank Ms. Carfora for coming out this evening and sharing all of that valuable insight. It resonates deeply with me. I was committed alongside the board and my team to opening schools to provide parents with that choice. I'd love nothing more than to move to a full in-person model without an option for remote, as I know that the sustainability of that for both kids and for our teachers and adults, it's not a long-term solution. It's just not sustainable. So I will continue to read the guidance, attend the informational webinars that the state puts on, collect information, and ensure we're making the best decisions for our students, their families, our community, while ensuring their safety as well.
So at this time, does the board have any authority over the mask requirement or plexiglass or anything?
Not in terms of mask and quarantine or isolation guidelines.
Okay.
No.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
All right, so moving on to executive session.
So,
We have- Yep.
Jen and Lynn, RJ, can you
Just
stay?
to clarify, this is for the secretary grievance.
Yep.
I'll make a motion. You need a motion, right? Okay. I thought we were supposed to do that.
Take
No,
one.
yeah, I know. You guys gotta
Yep.
give me a second.
Done.
All right, so this time I'm gonna ask for a motion to go into executive session
Yeah.
for the secretary grievance.
I motion we go into executive session for the secretary grievance.
Second.
Natalia.
Okay, all in favor to go into executive session?
Aye.
Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. We're back from executive session, and I believe we are going to request to add 8.0, add the grievance vote to the agenda.
So,
Do I have a motion to add the grievance to the agenda for 8.0?
I make a, yes, I make a motion to add 8.0, the secretary's grievance, to the agenda.
And I will second it.
Okay,
So-
all in favor to add 8.0, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Abstain? Motion carries. So that brings us to 8.0, the grievance, the secretary's grievance. Do
Okay.
I have a motion?
Yes, I make a motion to deny the grievance, the secretary's grievance.
Second?
I'll second it.
Okay. So this time, if anyone doesn't have any questions or comments further, I'm going to ask Melissa to do a roll call vote on denying the secretary's grievance.
Question, so if we say yes, we're voting to,
Deny.
Deny. That was good.
For clarifications.
Tia DePalma,
Yes.
Jennifer Galungo. Tom Hennessy,
No.
Tom Murtaugh,
Yes.
Mary Ann Pellegrino,
Yes.
Erica Santiago,
Yes.
Jack Stacy,
yes.
and Michelle DeLucia.
Yes.
7 in favor, 1 opposed, motion carries.
So that brings us to 8.1, 8.1, discussion and possible action on the approval of staff contract renewals as discussed in subcommittee last week.
I make a motion to take action to approve the staff contract renewals.
I'll second that.
Does anyone have any question or comments?
I do. Which staff is? I don't remember talking about this.
There was a list.
Oh, yeah? Okay, all right. Well, I
Pretty
remember.
Extensive list, I
Yeah.
believe. All right, so at this time, I'm going to ask for a motion. Wait,
I
we did it,
think I
right?
just did
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
and she seconded it.
And she seconded it. Melissa,
Or you can just do a roll
yeah,
call.
let's do it all in favor.
Oh,
So
oh.
all in favor to approve the staff contract renewals, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Okay, one abstention, 7 in favor, motion carries. Brings us to 8.2, discussion and possible action on the approval of the attendance officer contract renewal. Again, as discussed in subcommittee on Thursday. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to pass and approve the attendance officer contract renewal.
Second?
Okay, so at this time, if anyone has any questions or comments?
I got a question. What is the attendance officer?
No, we went over this in detail on Thursday.
We did?
Yeah.
Yes, and
Where
you,
was I?
There.
Tom, we-
No, you didn't come back to the meeting after executive
Oh,
session.
I was gonna, oh, that's right, you didn't come back.
All right.
but,
Excuse me, was this the one
Okay, I missed-
regarding
I did
that
miss
he
this.
would have further duties during the summer? Is that what we're, okay.
Yes.
Correct.
Thank
yes.
you.
And everything was uploaded, so you got to read all these things.
What is
right?
the attendance officer?
Attendance officer helps us monitor, track, and intervene with students who
Oh.
have an, yeah,
Got it,
in grades 6 through 12.
got it. I'm good. Thanks, Michelle.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? One abstention, 7 in favor, motion carries. We have discussion of possible action on the approval of the extension of the Human Resource Specialist Personnel Contract.
I make a motion
Is that
to
you, Jen?
approve the extension of the human resource specialist personal contract.
I'll second that.
Any questions or comments?
She's doing a good job.
Yes, she
She's
is.
doing a really great job. Okay. So at this time, I will do a
All in favor.
consent vote. Oh my God, we have the motion, right? I'm starting to get really,
I think we have the
I've been
motion.
meeting since 4.
We had a
okay?
motion and it's been seconded.
All right.
Yeah, so,
All
So at
in
the-
favor.
Yeah,
All
so
in
at this
favor.
time, I'm going to ask if all in favor are to approve the extension of the Human Resource Specialist Personnel Contract, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. All in favor? That brings us to discussion and possible action on the approval of the renewal of the National School Lunch and Transportation Facilitator Personal Contract. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the renewal of the National Lunch, School Lunch and Transportation Facilitator Personal Contract.
And I will second that.
Any questions or comments? Again, as discussed Thursday evening, so at this time, I'll ask for all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. That brings us to discussion and possible action on the approval of the East Haven Public Schools paraprofessional contract, and I'm very happy to say that this evening.
yes.
So I will ask for a motion.
I motion to approve the East Haven Public Schools paraprofessional contract.
I'll second that.
Any questions or comments? Again, as reviewed Thursday evening. So I will ask all in favor to approve the East Haven Public Schools paraprofessional contract, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. All in favor? Discussion and possible action on the approval of the new ESL position at Deer Run School. Again, as discussed on Thursday evening. At this time, I'm going to ask for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the new ESL position at Deer Run School.
Second?
So,
Okay.
okay, Tom, seconded by Tom. Again, discussed extensively on Thursday evening, so at this time I'll ask for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. All in favor. Discussion and possible action on the approval of the new central registration secretary position. Again, I remind you, as discussed in subcommittee on Thursday evening, in length.
I make a motion to accept the new central registration secretary.
I second.
Okay, so at this time, being that it has been discussed, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Abstain?
Opposed.
Opposed? 7 in favor, 1 opposition. Motion carries. Discussion and possible actions on the approval of hires and rehires and stipends. For that, I'm going to ask for a waiver for policy 9270. So please, when you note the motion, to include the waiver for policy 9270. Any questions or comments? Now I'll ask for a motion.
Motion to approve the list of hires, rehires, and stipends,
As well as waive
policy
9270.
Thank you. 92, waive the policy 9270, sorry.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Okay. So the motion before you is to approve the list of hires, rehires, and stipends, waiving policy 9270. Any questions or comments? If not, I'm going to ask an all in favor vote. Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain?
Abstain.
1 abstention, 7 in favor, motion carries. That brings us to discussion and possible action on the approval of the resolution for schools and libraries universal services E-rate for 2021-2022. Anyone have any questions or comments? If not, I'll read the motion as it needs to be worded for record. I motion to approve the resolution for schools and libraries universal services E-rate for 21-22. This resolution authorizes filing of the Form 471 applications for funding year of 2021 and 2022, and the payment of the applicant's share upon approval of funding and receipt of services. I'll ask for a second.
Second.
Take your pick.
So,
Whoever-
motion was as stated. I will ask for an all in favor vote. Say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. On the agenda this evening, there is one correction with a policy number, so we have discussion and possible action on the revision of the following policies. Policy number 3320, expenditures and purchasing procedures, as well as policy 6172.4, parent and family engagement for Title I and non-Title I students. Again, as discussed in length on Thursday evening during our subcommittee.
You need a motion, I'm sorry.
Yes, I
Oh,
I thought you
okay,
read
so
it as a motion.
I make a
After they
motion
vote.
to approve policy 3320, expenditures and purchasing procedures, and policy number 6274.
No, 6172.4.
Oh, it's
I
627.
know,
Wait,
that's why I
6
corrected it.
Oh,
in
61, I'm sorry. What is it, 61?
6172.4.
Oh, I didn't hear the
And
two.
policy 6172.4, parent and family engagement for Title I and non-Title I students. And I also like to thank Julie for all her hard work on that, so, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Julie. And so
I'll
will
second
ask
it.
If there's.
A second, we need a second.
Right? I second.
Okay. All right, great. So we have a second. So now I will ask if anyone has any questions or comments. If not, oh, sure.
For 3320, and this is just like maybe a typo, bottom of page 2 says A is the Town East Board of Education. It would be East Haven Board of Education.
Yeah.
It doesn't, it says East Board.
Oh, yeah, it's a typo.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I got you.
We can make the technical correction.
Good eye.
Okay, good catch. So all in favor to approve
We're such teachers.
policy 3320 and 6172.4, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Brings us to 8.11, discussion and possible action on the approval of asset disposals.
Go ahead, Tia.
You go.
I make a motion to approve the disposal of assets listed.
Second.
Any questions or comments? If not, I will ask for all in favor vote for a discussion and possible action on the approval of asset disposals as listed.
Aye.
Yep, all
Oh,
in favor, say
aye.
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 Opposed, abstained, motion carries.
We have to get used to this again.
Brings us to 8.12, discussion and possible action on the East Haven High School Assistant Principal position. Eric, you want to give us a little background on that just one more time?
Yes, we discussed this in a previous personnel subcommittee where Mr. DiNuzzo made the request to eliminate the Dean of Students position and replace it with an assistant principal's position with newly defined roles and responsibilities.
Yes, as discussed Thursday evening. So at this time, if there's any questions or comments, if not, I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the East Haven High School Assistant Principal position
The elimination of the Dean of Students position.
and the elimination of the Dean of Students position.
I move that we accept the proposal for an assistant principal position at East Haven High School and the eliminating of the Dean of Students position.
Second.
Second, and Ms. Palma. So at this time, all in favor to approve the new East Haven High School Assistant Principal position and remove Dean of Students, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. 8.13, discussion and possible action on the approval of the vendor for the Ferrara Cafeteria freeze bid. Do we have any background on this, or again, it's nothing changed?
No, that's the one we went over this, tonight,
Subcommittee.
in the
Yeah.
subcommittee, the 19,000
Tonight, yeah.
freezer at Farrar.
Yeah,
Nothing's changed.
okay.
Make a motion to approve the vendor for the Ferrara cafeteria freezer bid.
Could we just have the vendor's name?
Warehouse store fixtures.
Okay. Warehouse or fixtures.
Warehouse store fixtures for Ferrara cafeteria freezer bid.
Second?
It's a mouthful.
I'll second it.
All right, so at this time, any questions or comments? If not, I am going to ask for a consent vote for the approval of the warehouse.
The freezer.
The freezer,
For
the cafeteria
Ferrara.
freezer bid at Ferrara School to go to
Warehouse store fixtures.
warehouse store fixtures. All right.
Second. Oh, I don't know
I'm
what
just
to say.
repeating it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. 8.14, discussion and possible action on the approval of the vendor for the large format displays as discussed this evening. Just being sure to correct that now Milwaukee will have those large displays as well.
Correct.
And so I ask if there's no questions or comments, I will ask for a motion from the board.
I make a motion to approve do we have the vendor's name?
Soundstage.
Soundstage systems. Approval of soundstage systems for the large format displays.
Second?
Okay, so at this time, to approve soundstage for the approve the purchase of large format displays from Soundstage at Momoglin School, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries, all in favor. 8.15, discussion and possible action on the Power School fees add-on as discussed this evening. If there's no questions or comments, or if there are, yes?
Just one question, weren't they gonna look into the feasibility of the security of it first?
No, they said they had discussed the security of it, and ultimately the liability does fall on us as taking on the credit card. Michelle, I'll make a motion to approve the Power School fees add-on.
I'll second that.
Any questions or comments?
Are we gonna know about who takes the coverage for the credit card fees? Whether it's 50/50, us or the parents, or are we just gonna see how that goes?
Well, it was minimal, right? And then that's what's going to be future
So the
determined.
purchase of the add-on is just to get the add-on and start working with the vendor.
Okay.
We can
That's
come
more
back.
operational.
We can come
Yeah.
back and, once we get it up and running and get some testing out there, we'll then, once we go live, we can come back and determine how we're going to charge.
You could do it
on
by
our
item,
structure.
right?
We
They
do
can
it by
also
item.
figure that into the cost of whatever they're charging. If it's, say, a
Correct.
prom bid is $70, I mean, it may be $75 to include coverage of the fees. So
Correct.
I mean, I think that's, pretty basic to understand.
I think this, what we're asking for now is to allow us to get to that step. And then once we start building the pricing models, we can come back and get approval of how we want to price each item specifically and so forth.
We had the motion, right?
And a
All
second.
right, so the motion before you is to approve the Power School fee add-on. At this time, if there's no other questions or comments, I'm gonna say all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose, abstain, motion carries. That brings us to
Can I add-
the
I'm sorry,
conclusion of our
Michelle.
meeting this
Oh,
evening.
Hold on.
Sorry, I received information from the chamber today that reached out relative to supporting their upcoming banquet where they celebrate the educator and the student of the year. Every year, we do a sponsorship, and so in an effort to get them the ad for their booklet, I'd like to add 8.16, which is discussion and possible action on a $250 East Haven Chamber of Commerce sponsorship.
So discussion,
Uh,
8:16,
can we
discussion and possible action to,
So we need the motion to add.
yeah, the 8.16 should read, discussion and possible action for the Chamber of Commerce, what is it?
$250 sponsorship.
$250 sponsorship to the Chamber of Commerce. Do I have a motion?
I have
Oh,
a-
no, I'm
I have a
sorry.
motion to
Motion
add 8.16 to the agenda, which is about
Second.
money for the East Haven Chamber dinner.
Yes,
Okay, so all in favor of that?
So all in favor?
okay.
No.
Yeah, no, give me.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so, all in favor to add 8.16, discussion and possible action on approving $250 ad for the Chamber of Commerce. Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain?
So,
Motion carries, and that brings us to 8.16,
Yeah.
discussion and possible action on the approval of the $250 ad for the Chamber of Commerce.
I'll make a motion to approve the $250 ad to the Chamber of Commerce.
I'll second that.
Any questions or comments? So at this time, if not,
I
I
have
will.
a question, I'm sorry.
Sure.
So in one case, we're saying sponsor, another, it's an ad. Is that just interwoven? It's
The sponsorship includes the ad.
Okay, thank you.
Sponsorship ad.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
All right, so at this time, all in favor to approve the $250 sponsorship ad with the Chamber of Commerce, please say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain? Motion carries. All in favor? At this time, we have a discussion concerning of future agenda items. If anyone does have a future agenda item, please let myself or Erica know. Best if you, sure.
I think we ought to make a statement that for our next school year, we're not to offer remote learning option unless mandated by the state manager. So that our parents have time to prepare, they know, so they know where our,
So you want to vote on making a
No,
statement?
he wants to,
I think we should make that statement so people know.
that should be discussed in
Yeah, so
subcommittee.
you want to make the statement, or you want to vote to develop a statement?
Whichever way you want to do it.
You can simply vote to say East Haven Public Schools will have an only in-person model for the 21-22 school year, unless mandated otherwise by the State Department of
Okay,
Education.
we could add that to one of the June meetings, correct?
The May meeting or June meetings?
I would, I would think the first meeting in June, I
Okay.
mean, that does give the entire summer notice. Plus, we wanna, yeah, we wanna see. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Mhm.
Sounds good.
All right. Yeah, that sounds great. So at
Yeah.
this time,
Listen, I'm a huge proponent of in-person learning. You heard me earlier. I think it's the absolute way to go unless the state determines otherwise.
I think that's right, and we will discuss that we'll discuss it at an upcoming meeting. So at this time, I'm gonna ask for a motion to adjourn.
I got one more, I got one thing, please. Erica, do I need to say anything about that tree, or is that a given, or does that have to be put in as a future agenda
Let's
item?
put that in as
Yeah,
a future
I'd bring it
agenda
up, Jack.
item. Yes. So
Okay.
go ahead, Jack.
All right, so there was a request by the Prado Carafano family to have us place a tree at the middle school in some proximity to the former office of Mr. John Prado, who was a principal there and passed away recently. At this time, they're offering to pay for the tree. We're going to negotiate. I'm going to tell them that they need to do the plaque as well, and that the town, if we approve, that the town will provide the workers to plant the tree. Right,
Yeah,
That's for a future agenda item.
yeah, future agenda item.
Yep.
future agenda, yes, as a future agenda item, correct.
That's,
Uh,
Yeah, I believe it.
So we're going to be here. It's only Mother's Day.
It's bring your mother to the board meeting.
There we go.
so it's May 11th to clarify?
The 11th.
Yeah.
Thank you.
May 11th?
So at this time, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All right, so I remind
Second.
everyone, our next finance subcommittee is on Tuesday, May 11th at 2021 at 6:30, followed by our regular board meeting on May 11th, 2021 at 7 p.m.
6:30, you said, for finance?
6:30.
Excellent.
And if at any point, any subcommittees
I'm
would
impressed.
like to be added, please let the office know, again, at least 1 week prior to the date that you have in mind, so Melissa could poll the board to vote on an alternate night, and that on subcommittee meetings, we can meet virtually for convenience to everyone. Thank you.